Hello and welcome to Complicated to Simple. I'm Robert Seth, your host for this video, and today we're going to talk about managing your hard drive in general and the information on it. The first and foremost thing to remember when managing your hard drive is the issue of space. If you don't have enough room left on your hard drive, then no matter what else you do to your computer, it's going to run slow. And that's because Windows uses the extra space on your hard drive for something called a scratch drive. It's kind of like if you're trying to do a math problem and you pull out a little piece of scratch paper and you start figuring on it to figure out the answer that you're going to put into the problem on your main page. Windows does the same thing. It needs room to think, basically. And it uses random access memory for that, but if it runs out of that, then it goes to the hard drive and puts files it's not using but needs, or calculations that it's doing. It puts them in that scratch area so that it can work with them. Let's take a look here and show you what I mean. So start by clicking on the Start button and then going to Computer, or if you're in Windows XP, it will be My Computer. And this will bring up all the hard drives you have on your system. And you want to click generally on drive C. That's generally going to be your main drive. So before you click on it though, take a look at this statistic that Windows puts up. In my computer, I have a 223 gigabyte hard drive. This is a solid state drive, so it's fairly small. I keep a lot of my other things on these other two drives out here. But this one shows that I have 91.6 gigabytes free on a 223 gig hard drive. Now that's probably about 40% remaining. So that's a good statistic. 91 gigabytes on a 223 gig drive is a lot of space left over. So Windows will have plenty of room to think, and we shouldn't have any problem here. A general rule of thumb is that you should have 20% free space left on your hard drive. Once you get below that, you should either look at replacing your hard drive with a larger one or cleaning off some of the things that are on it already to free up some space. Replacing your hard drive is beyond the scope of this video course, so we're not going to go into that right here. In this case, we're going to talk about how to clean up your hard drive if you decide to go that route. So double-click on the drive that you'd like to clean up, and you'll be presented with all the files that are on that drive. Now so far, everything we've seen is the same whether you're in Windows XP, Windows Vista, or Windows 7. For a few minutes here, things will change slightly, and I'll explain what you do for each type of operating system that you might have. What we're going to do next is change a few of the settings in Windows to make it so that you can see all the different files you have, as well as see what kind of files they are. You'll notice on mine, I'm in Windows 7, and some of these directories, the folders are a little bit dim. Same with these two. Those are actually hidden files, but I have the settings on my computer set to show hidden files so I can see everything that's on my computer. So if you're in Windows 7, click on Organize, and then go down to Folder and Search Options. This is also the same if you're in Windows Vista. Then go to View on this tab, and you'll see that you have all your choices of how you view your files on your computer. We're not going to go through all of these right now, but there's just two I want to show you. First of all, where it says Hidden Files and Folders here, make sure that Show Hidden Files, Folders, and Drives is checked. And then down here where it says Hide Extensions for Known File Types, I want you to uncheck that so you'll be able to see all the different file types, because it makes it easier to know which kind you can delete without causing a problem. So click Apply, and that will change it, and then go to OK. Now if you're using Windows XP, the process is fairly similar, but not exactly the same, so let me show you how to do that. I'll bring up Windows XP here. You'd click on your Start button. Again, go to My Computer. Go to Drive C, and then instead of having Organize up here, you'll have Tools, and go to Tools and Folder Options and to View. And now it's the very same as it was with Windows 7 or Windows Vista. Click on Show Hidden Files and Folders, and uncheck Hide Extensions for Known File Types. Click Apply and OK, and you're back exactly where we were in the other one. Incidentally, if your screen doesn't look like this, there's a couple things we can do to make it look the same. So go to Organize and go to Layout this time, and you'll see these options here. The Detail pane is this area down at the bottom that shows you the detail of any file you check on, and the Navigation pane is this area to the side that shows you where you are on your hard drive when you're looking at this particular place in your hard drive. So if you want it to look the same, make sure you check the Details pane and the Navigation pane. Another thing we want to make sure of is that this part of your screen looks the same as mine. So if it doesn't look the same, you can change it by going over to this little Change Your View item here, click on the down arrow, and make sure that the slider is set to Details and not any of these other things like List or large or medium icons. If you're using Windows XP and your view doesn't look like this, the way to change it is to go to your View tab and then select Details. Now that we have the setup out of the way, let's talk about how you can actually clean up your hard drive. In Windows 7 and Vista, the majority of the time you're going to find the files that you can delete without causing a problem in your user folder or in your libraries. These are actually somewhat of a duplication. Everything in your libraries here you'll also find in users, but there's more in users. So if you want to see everything that's in this area of your computer, you need to click on users. So if you go there, then go to your username, and then you'll see that right here, all these things, My Documents corresponds to Documents, Music, Music, Pictures, Pictures, and Videos, Videos. So let's stay in this view so we can see everything that we have to deal with. To keep this video to a manageable length, we're not going to go into everything in here. We're just going to hit the high spots where most things are going to be found. There are basically 5 places we're going to concentrate on and where you're going to find most of your files that can be deleted if you want to. That's in Downloads, My Documents, My Music, My Pictures, and My Videos. Before we go any further, I'd like to show you a little trick that will help you find all the files on your computer that are taking up so much space. If you hover over My Documents, you'll see a little pop-up box that will tell you the size of all the files that are in there. That's not just one file, that's how much space all the files in this particular directory are taking up. Now again, if you're not seeing this little tooltip coming up, it's because you don't have your computer set to show them. So you want to go to Organize again and go to Folder and Search Options, go on View, and then scroll down towards the bottom, and you'll see a little box here that says Show Pop-up Descriptions for Folder and Desktop Items. Make sure that's checked, and that will enable those pop-up boxes. In Windows XP, if you're not seeing them, go to Tools and Folder Options, View, and the same thing, scroll down towards the bottom and Show Pop-up Descriptions for Folder and Desktop Items. Make sure that's checked. Now let's start with Downloads. And if you look at this, you'll see there's a lot of files in here. I tend to keep this cleaned up, so there's not as many as you probably have if you've never cleaned it up. What happens with Downloads is that every time you download a program, download a PDF, download any kind of information, it sits in Downloads until you erase it. And for example, I left this in here on purpose, but here's a program I downloaded called VMware. And even after I install the program, this executable file that installs the program stays in my Downloads file. Same with this Ableton Live. These between them, this is almost 1.5 gigabytes of information. That's a huge amount of information. These programs have been installed. They don't need to be here. So all they're doing is taking up a lot of extra space. Now keep in mind that any kind of file you have in here can generally be deleted. Now that's not the case if it was somewhere else. If this executable file was in your Program Files folder, you would not want to delete this because that's the actual program. But when it's in downloads, that's the part that downloaded before it installed. Now, be careful too that if you've downloaded something and you haven't installed it yet, you certainly don't want to delete it before you install it. And in this particular case, let's say this copywriting guarantees file. This is a PDF file that I downloaded and looked at, but I haven't moved it anywhere else yet. So I don't want to lose that. So I might just want to move it to my documents folder, or copy it and then delete it, whichever. Also notice this Bloggers Online Marketing Kit file. One of them has a 1 in front of it and one of them doesn't. That means it's been downloaded twice, and you certainly can get rid of one of those copies, if not both, if it's already been installed. This is a zip file, which means it's probably been unzipped to someplace else. I might want to check that before I deleted it. And just in case you don't know, when you want to delete a file, here's a good one to delete. It's a driver file for a Logitech camera, and it's in here twice, so we'll take one of them. Just right click on the file and it'll give you an options menu. Go down to delete, click on it, it'll ask you if you're sure, say yes, and it's gone. It's actually in your recycle bin, which we'll talk about later about how to empty that. In fact, let's talk about that right now, because the recycle bin can be the source of some very large files. When you throw files into the recycle bin, they go in at their full size. And so sometimes if you haven't emptied it in a long time, it can be responsible for a lot of room on your hard drive. So go up to the icon on your desktop for recycle bin, and the way you empty it is just click on recycle bin, click on empty recycle bin. It'll ask you if you want to permanently delete these items. Yes, I do. So I click and it will delete them, and it's done. Now I'm going to go back here because I want to show you something else. And to get back to where you were before you came in to the downloads, just click on the back arrow up here and it'll take you back to everything that's in this drive. The thing I wanted to show you was My Documents. That can be a source of very large files too. And actually, let's go back for a second. And if you look at this on my computer, it's 18.4 gigabytes. Now that is a lot. And it would actually be very difficult to have 18.4 gigabytes of documents, but I'll show you why mine has this many. I'm running something called VMware, which makes it so that I can show you things on Windows Vista, XP, and Windows 7 at the same time on the same computer. Well, the computer stores that information in a directory called virtual machines. And when you hover over this, you see that that's 10.8 gigabytes of the total. So that's why. You wouldn't normally have this, but you could still have a lot of information in here. Before we go, I'd like to show you another little trick that will help you find larger files that you might want to delete. If you go up to the column headings on this page, these are clickable column headings, and when you click on them, the computer will arrange the names differently. Like in this case, it's alphabetical from A to Z, and folders first and then files last. If you click on the name, again, it will arrange this according to, now this has gone down to the bottom, but if you bring it back up, you'll see that it's arranged it with the files first and the folders last, and in reverse alphabetical order. So you can also click on Date Modified, and it'll arrange them first to last or last to first. You can arrange them by type. So now you've got all the different types of files grouped together. So if you're looking for a certain type that you want to move somewhere or delete, this makes it easier. And the one I like the most is size. So if you're searching around in your computer trying to figure out where this big chunk of files are that's taking up all the space, you can arrange them by size, and then you can see the biggest ones first. In this case, you can see that the first 5 take up most of the space in this directory, and the rest of them are pretty insignificant. So if you concentrate your efforts on those top 5, you're going to remove most of the stuff in here, and the rest of it will be a lot of different files that you can delete later, but they're not going to make a significant difference on how much room you have left on your hard drive. Now let's go back and sort this by name, because I wanted to point out to you that you will need to go through all these folders too. And again, if you hover over them, it's going to give you the size and what's in there, and that you can decide based on that whether you want to go in there and see if there's anything you want to clean up. The other thing we haven't talked much about is what kind of file you can delete. Windows designates types of files by an extension placed on the end of the file name. So if you go down to the files here, you'll see this one has a PDF on the end. This one has a TXT on the end, GZ, ALB, DOC, CAB. These all represent different kinds of files. You can also tell by the file type column over here. Unfortunately, a discussion of all the different file types is quite a ways beyond the scope of this course. If you have a question about it, for example, let's go into this downloads file, and you'll see these exe files. Again, those are program files. If you're finding them in downloads, then these can be deleted. You can see that I've got several different versions of this body bug install. Every time they publish an update, they send another one, and so I could get rid of all these. These are movie files. Zip files are zipped up files that are they're compressed and they need to be extracted before they can be used. Again, this is usually what downloads before you install a program, and so these can usually be deleted. There's doc files, JPEG files, movie files, sound files. I don't know how much you know about file types, so I'm not going to go into them all here. If you want to know about a specific file type, if you just type it into Google, for example, if you want to know what exe was, just type in exe file in Google and it'll tell you what kind of file it is, so you can know if it's something you want to delete. You can also just double click it and it'll open it, and if it's some kind of document file, it'll open as a document. If it's a program file, it'll say it's going to install a program. You'll know then it's an installer, and you can just cancel out of it and delete the file. I do plan on creating a sort of computer essentials course that will go into all these topics in much more depth. So if whenever you watch this, if you go on my website and see if it's already been created, it might be there, it may not, but if it isn't, know that it is coming. And that's one of the reasons I would like your feedback, is if there's something you'd like to see included in a program like that, please let me know. That about finishes up this video. I hope that you've learned a lot and had a lot of fun, and I hope I've empowered you to be able to use your computer better and made you feel more in control of what's going on with it and being able to maintain it and knowing, where things are and just how to use it better. And if I've done that, then I've done my job, and I really am happy for that. So thanks for watching. I know it went on for a long time, and I appreciate your patience again, and I just hope you have a great day.